When was the last time you made a new friend? Not a new colleague or someone you just waved to in the hallway. I mean, someone who really knows you. If you're a physician or many other caregiving professionals, you likely spend your days caring for other people. But who's caring for you? And how do you build genuine connection when your life is already so full? Today, we're talking about loneliness, belonging, and one physician's mission to help us solve for joy by creating real friendships. You're listening to Solving for Joy. I'm your host, Dr. Chrissy Ott, a multi-boarded integrative physician and professional certified life and career coach. This podcast is about joy, what it means, how we find it, and the creative ways people are solving for it in their own lives. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Cassie Burton Greenbaum. Cassie is a pediatric critical care physician and the founder of Off Service Mom Co., an organization helping physician moms build meaningful friendships through intentional connection. After years of caring for critically ill children, Cassie realized there was one challenge no one had prepared her for: how lonely medicine and hell, adulthood can feel, even when you're surrounded by people every day. Instead of just accepting that as part of the profession, she decided to build something different. Cassie, welcome to Solving for Joy. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. So I'd love to start with sharing a bit about your story. You've spent your career caring for critically ill kids. You're surrounded by people every day, and yet somehow you realized that you were lonely, that your life was not as full as you wanted it to be in certain ways. Take us back there and share a little bit about what that was like for you.
I think it's easy to get caught up in our lives, and especially after getting to attendinghood, and then if motherhood, parenthood is added on, it becomes exponentially busier and more full.
Mm.
And I have been an attending in this job for about 6 years and was living the busy, full life, full calendar. And gradually, as life does, kind of each aspect of my life, as far as career, home life, and just motherhood, became more draining and depleting, and just gradually took away any energy that I had. And I, we began to struggle in our marriage, actually, and neither one of us were at a point where we could put more energy into each other. And I realized that I didn't have that ride or die girlfriend that I could just call up and talk to her about what was going on, and or even didn't feel like I had anyone that I felt could give me the advice that I wanted or needed at that point. And that realization was sad. I felt embarrassed, ashamed, that I at this point was felt successful, looked successful, but felt lonely. And when I finally said it out loud to myself, that almost gave me the power, like a diagnosis does, that you can figure out what the treatment is to answer this problem. And I knew that I needed to be intentional about friendship and connection because it hadn't happened passively like it had in every other part of my life. Your training, even medical school, you are in these cohorts and just naturally close to each other. So it just hadn't happened that way. And I had also tried to do book clubs or consistent group meetups, but with my irregular ICU schedule, I couldn't get to these events on the same days or the same times so that I could interact with the same women. And so that conventional friendship advice just didn't fit my life. So I needed to find a different way to make it work. And I knew that I wasn't the only one. I couldn't be the only woman physician or physician mom that was feeling this. So I made my own intention to purposefully seek out friendships and connection, but built this idea behind it that I could share with other physician moms who are struggling.
I love that. And thank you for sharing so openly and transparently about what was hard. That in itself is liberating and also vulnerable. So, yeah, thank you for going there. You're far from the only one, and the wisdom that reminded you you're not the only one is it's kind of divine. It is how our struggles become gifts in the world. It is that very alchemical process of, well, if I need to struggle through this, let me at least benefit others on the way out. So that feels like a really holy mission to me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that when we go through our trying times, these struggles or challenges, and find a solution that works for us, then hopefully you can help someone else skip that step, or get there faster. And that's part of my goal is to take a lot of the work and the barriers out of making these connections that can be time consuming and sometimes energy depleting, that physician moms don't have to give. And so if I can build a way that fits into their life that they already live and don't have to make a lot of adjustments or changes, I can give them a way to increase their number of friends, their depth of friendship, and I truly believe make their life feel more full.
Yeah, and more joyful.
Exactly.
There are a couple of things coming up that I want to just like point to. When we are depleted, for shorthand, we could say burned out, but whatever reason, like we've reached middle age, we've accomplished a lot of our goals, and then we have existential questions. It's time for the second mountain. The second mountain is meaning. All of that is in the background. And we look around and say, oh my gosh, I forgot to bring my posse along because we have been so necessarily self-centric during training. Of course, we're devoted to serving, and so in some ways it's very much not self-centric, but our education and our particular pathway as clinicians is not super easy to bring close friendships through. It does happen with a great deal of effort, but I think that if we had a room of 50 women physicians, and for that matter, like bring our brothers along too, they might have a lot of this experience to share. And then just middle age, just being an adult, I hear from lots of people across all professions that it's hard to make new friends. Let's say you change cities because you've got a promotion, you match in a different city, suddenly you're plopped down into a brand new community. How do you make friends? I mean, even for dating, people are on apps for
Mhm.
for much of our meeting people function now. So it's a particularly complex time to create new connections, don't you think?
Yes, and adult life is almost set up to as an anti friendship development because not only do you have your work, you if you have a family, all of your attention is spread thin. And again, it comes back to what do you want to use your and spend your spare time on. And a lot of times, especially with women, it's not us. We don't want to spend it on ourselves, and it takes a mindset shift, I think, to get to that point where we give ourselves permission to put more energy into us and to figure out what we want, what makes us happy. Because once we find that and seek that, then it changes our interactions with everything else in our life. It makes us more present and have more energy to give in our work to our patients. And then as a
Yes.
mom, even if you remember if your kids were little, it takes a lot of nervous system regulation on your own part to help them when they're dysregulated. And when your energy level and capacity is low, it's really hard to dig that deep. But when you're filled up, again, your cup is full, you have more to give to them, more patience. And it just spending time on yourself and the things that are important to making your life joyful will just make every aspect of it better.
Yes. Yes. It's somewhat as simple as pouring from a full cup versus an empty cup.
Exactly.
I'm thinking right now about all of the powerful female friends in my life right now and how grateful I am to have people that I can call up and have a deep conversation with or laugh until we pee our pants together.
Yeah, and that's, a special connection. Those sort of women, and connections are what I want to build and have available for all of us.
I think too about how much time we spend developing the social connections for our kids. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been coordinating play dates off and on for my child for over a decade, and she knows she's just now in middle school. And nobody's doing that for us, you know?
Yeah.
There's not anybody doing that for us. There's a fantastic summary of the evidence around loneliness and social connections in the first part of the book, The Business of Friendship by Shasta Nelson. I
Mhm.
don't know if you're aware of this book, but it's a really wonderful, quick read that just kind of grounds us in the importance of having a close friend in the workplace. And, it's typical to make friends, acquaintances at least, at work,
Mhm.
and then to also connect with people who are in the same season of life as you. So make friends, for example, with parents of similarly aged children or, furry parents at the dog park, things like that. I've made quite a few, lasting friendships in those ways over the years. But as your kids get older, the parents are doing less of the coordinating, and there's just even less opportunity for those new connections to develop.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that back to the workplace point, that is the obvious place for adults to make their friends. Of course, there can be times where you're in private practice or in a group of one, you're in a single physician, or maybe as far as like for me as a female physician, if there's not a group of other women physicians that I would connect with, or your group is great at work, but then outside of work there's not a lot of overlap and similarities that bring you together. And if you end up in that situation, you can't really go out and find a lot more friends at work because your pool is limited. So you have to find it externally, and that's where giving yourself the time to go out and pursue that. And sometimes it's you can put that effort in, but sometimes not receive it back. And it just you have to
Mhm.
definitely have both parties who are willing to inconvenience themselves for the friendship and to put in the time, the consistency to build it.
Yeah. It's interesting as female physicians, too, when we connect with non physician friends, sometimes we don't seem as approachable to them because of their own sort of inner narrative about doctors and physicians. Like, it's so healthy and refreshing to me to connect in areas apart from medicine so that you can, like, just be somebody who is at the coffee shop or just be somebody who is at the, I don't know, ceramics studio or something, or just another person in those channels.
I think that can be hard when you have lost yourself in the identity of physician or mother, and you've forgotten what it is that you enjoy doing or your hobbies. So you haven't invested the time in those other identities. So it's hard as the female physician to go out and inhabit those other roles because you've become so consumed by your work. And I think that is another piece that is important for us to work on, are the identity outside of medicine. And it's hard to let go of sometimes, I think, and just remember who you used to be before all of this.
Yeah, that's a journey in and of itself for so
Mhm.
many. So, as you have devoted yourself to creating the conditions for more connection in
Mhm.
this wonderful group of humans, tell us about what you decided to create.
So I wanted to, like I talked about before, overcome the barriers of time, the depletion and lack of energy, and that we use as physician moms to put our friendships on the back burner and say, I'll wait for a less busy season to focus on that. So I built a model that is a friendship matching service that matches the physician mom with someone who is in a similar life stage and another physician mother. And I have based this on a matching framework and personally look at all of the intake forms and match the women that would go well together as far as their answers on the form. And then once they're invited into the group, I connect the matches together, and then their responsibility is to connect with each other. And I do provide guided prompts and try to make it a little less time consuming to think of questions to ask each other and take that weight off for just for them to easily reach out. And most of these women aren't in the same location and most like to communicate by text or asynchronously. So it is a very low effort and meant to be easy way for them to find a new woman that they might not have found otherwise. And the other thing that I'm building for my next group is a resource library that they can access that will have more guided conversation prompts and information in that area. And then as the pool of women grows, there will become groups who are locally centered. And my goal is to have some in person events and have them come together because I think everyone would love to get together, but it's not always possible. And then finally have a one on one session with me to discuss the challenges of friendship for physician moms and how it can contribute to the isolation and burnout and depletion that we can experience.
I think that's so great, Cassie. I mean, as I hear you describe it this time, it really sounds like it's a primer, a refresher course in how to be a friend. You're giving them prompts like we would give our 4-year-old prompts, like ask them what color they like, ask them what their favorite animal is, you know? And I remember doing that so much in my child's, early years. So much of our life we're afraid of just experiencing an uncomfortable feeling. And social awkwardness is among one of those feelings that we avoid the most. For some reason, it feels like a disproportionately great threat for many of us until we sort of train ourselves differently. So I love that you're offering this sort of refresher in how to be a friend. And if you ever do have in-person gatherings, count me as interested in presenting on joy
Yeah.
and friendship. And like the existence of conflict in friendship,
Mm.
the normalcy of rupture and repair in friendship that doesn't always have to be a big dramatic breakup forever, although sometimes it is. I'm reflecting on a great rupture that happened in a friendship about 15 years ago that just in the last month or two came around for repair, which was beautiful and surprising. And I'm thinking about a beloved friend who I had cause to just say, hey, that didn't feel great to me today. And it doesn't mean anything except I am willing to say what's true for me because I care about you and I assume that you had good intentions. And I need to let you know that that felt like a misstep.
Right. And that is a very hard part of friendship. And I think an important piece because it's a vulnerability step, right? And that's where you get the deep relationships that hopefully last into multiple decades of your life. And vulnerability is harder, I think, as we get older and our self-perception sometimes holds us back from showing, our true and authentic selves. That is the essential component of a deep friendship though.
Yeah, the framework in Shasta Nelson's book is about this triad of experiences repeated over and over time. So there was vulnerability and positive experience, so humor, laughter, and then the passage of time. So it was like those three things are what really build relationship. So how long are your cohorts? And maybe you could tell us some stories either from friendships that you've built since your sort of inflection point about this, and maybe also, some relationships that are building because of your offering.
The course is designed to be 8 weeks and cycle through those an every 8 week cohort. The current pilot right now is 6 weeks, and we're in the information gathering phase. And as with anything new, you find the things that work well and the things that you can adjust for the next go around. So I've definitely identified some of those things. And I don't think that I would have been able to if I hadn't done this live. The each cohort will be 20 new women. So for that 8 weeks, in addition to women who want to remain. And so each time, each 8 week period, the pool grows and there's an opportunity to rematch, not because the connection or friendship failed, but just to broaden your friendship pool and for meeting new people. And so the next cohort will start August 1st.
Awesome. So plenty of time
Mhm.
to join them if this is calling deeply to you. You're like, oh my gosh, this is my story. I lack friendships. I am in medicine. I want to discover how to create deeper connections. So you can go to offservicemomco.com and enroll or inquire about that if it's calling to you. How are your connections going since starting this, Cassie?
6 months ago, when I started developing this and admitting to myself that something needed to change because of the isolation was too prominent, I would have been shocked by how many new connections that I've made just from starting this. And I have met so many women that are either in an entrepreneurial space, and the encouragement, the support, the excitement that we all get from one another is so empowering and motivating, and has pushed me even, further into this realm, and gives me that fire, I guess, to continue developing this and improving it and bringing it to more women. And I have reached out to more of my, past connections and people who are in my life now, and tried to, again, intentionally nurture the friendships that I have in my life in this moment in time. Even that just gives you fulfillment and more joy from hearing back from these women, even though sometimes it's not immediate. We're all not sitting on our phone, or you read the text and then you forget you read it and didn't respond. But usually they'll come back, and it's just, such a joyful part of your day when you can connect with friends who are far away. So yeah, I think this is something that's definitely added a lot to my life already.
That's awesome. The name of our podcast, of course, is Solving for Joy. And I understand that as the convergence of meaning, alignment, and delight. And I'd love to hear your dotted line specifically. How is this causing you joy? How is this serving your own sense of meaning, alignment, and delight?
This is definitely aligned to my values more. And I feel that I was just kind of floating along, in my river of my career and my home life. But when I changed to realizing that friendship is an essential component of joy in life, it shifted everything. And everything feels like it's again lining up my values and my purpose. And I just want everyone, especially busy physician moms, to know that friendship and deep connection is not a luxury and something that you just put on the back burner for when you're less busy, but it's something that's necessary to live a fulfilled life and a joyful one.
It truly is. There's so much more to say about this wonderful topic. It's really just sparking so many different little memories and thoughts in my mind. So I know that it's going to produce rich, inspirational content for many years to come for you, Cassie.
Thank you.
Thank you for following the golden thread. Thank you for hearing the inspiration in the call and then answering it, because it is easy in our busy lives to just let that go. But you have not. You are on an adventure.
Yes, and I really related to the second mountain that you brought up earlier in the talk, and this definitely feels like my second mountain. And as excited
Mhm.
as I was and motivated by the mountain of medicine, this is my next one that is bringing me, equal excitement.
Yeah. And it will probably produce as much good in the world, even as the massive amounts of good that you do as a pediatric intensivist. So may it be so.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. One thing I'll be taking away from our conversation is that friendship doesn't stop mattering when we become adults. If anything, it becomes more essential because it fuels our path forward, it fuels our vision and our intentions for the world. The beautiful part is that meaningful connection doesn't always begin with finding perfect people. In fact, there aren't any. Sometimes it begins with just one intentional step towards being known, allowing yourself to be truly known, which means, of course, allowing yourself to truly be more of yourself. So thank you, Cassie, for seeing this need, experiencing it, and then creating something that helps physician moms and women feel less alone. I'm so glad that you joined me today. And to everyone listening, May this be your invitation. Reach out to a friend, send a text, maybe even a card in snail mail. Accept the invitation or be the one that sends it, because joy has a way of growing when we stop trying to carry life by ourselves. Thank you for spending this time with us. Until next time, keep solving for joy.